So I'm gonna be from this stuff like day. I'm not gonna be planting on November 16th. Yeah.
Okay, light crowd this evening, so we shall get to it, and as we did before, we're not going to read the entire thing. So this is the November 6th, 2024 meeting, Parks, Landmarks, and Cultural Affairs Committee. I'm Neil Barkley. I would say most of the people on the committee probably know me, hopefully. We will insert the time. Time is 6:34. We're just saying that there are members of the public who are attending virtually. They can raise their questions through the Q&A feature of Zoom. They can also raise their hand there. We would ask those people from the public who participate on Zoom or with the Q&A, let's, I'll just be respectful of one another. Same thing for, committee members, but we have, seasoned veterans in there, so I'm sure they know what to do. Sarah Woodington again has decided to take notes, so you can never leave our committee. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Third in a row. Yeah, and then, we do not have the great Brian Lafferty, but we have the great Jesus Perez, the boss.
Did you just call me a fool?
No.
Great.
So he will take attendance.
All right. Everyone, I will call your name. Please answer present. Neil Barkley.
Present.
Thank you. Martin Barrett.
Present.
Thank you. Paige Judge.
Present.
Thank you. Anton Mullen.
Present.
Thank you. Reshma Patel.
Present.
Thank you. Letty Simon.
Present.
Thank you. Mark Thompson. Might not be with us tonight, but we'll see. Sarah Whittington.
Present.
Thank you. Robert Farfan is excused. Mubin Siddiqui.
Present.
Thank you. Gloria Hage.
Present.
Thank you. Rabia Iqbal is excused. And we do have quorum.
Right, so, the agenda, the agenda was distributed to everyone ahead of time by the, board office. If there are no objections, we can adopt the agenda. Any objections? Looks good, okay? So the agenda is, adopted. Also, we can adopt the minutes from October 1st meeting. What do you think? Sounds good, all right, adopted. So that's it, pretty much, no objections, again, with the ground rules. We've been going through this for almost 5 years now, let's just be, polite and respectful to one another, and then we can go ahead, we can start with the first part of the agenda. We're so fortunate to have DAG Hammershell Plaza, Friends of DAG Hammershell Plaza, this is a serious issue they're going to come and speak about. Are you ready to start? Thanks, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good to see you here.
Thank you for accommodating me. I feel we're at an important juncture in time in terms of the scaffolding reform program. Most of you, I would expect, have read about it, yes? Yes, no? Okay, you're all familiar with it. Okay, and as you probably know then, the mayor initiated this program last year and city council has been busy writing bills. And also the borough president, Mark Levine, has been involved in the process. So I was very interested in these bills when we were impacted by the scaffolding that we knew nothing about. It totally blindsided us. It was installed the first week of January, the same exact week that construction was supposed to start on the $4 million renovation that your committee and friends and the Parks Department worked so diligently to get since 2017. Finally got it all sorted out and approved after rounds and rounds of, having to go back out to bid, prices going up, what have you. Finally, on January 1st, we're all ready to go. We have a meeting in the park with the engineer, the contractor, Steve Simon. And lo and behold, we're all blindsided by this scaffolding. We thought, friends, thought, oh, Parks must have changed their plan. So we thought it was Parks putting in fencing, not so. So we also thought that, well, this is on park property and Parks will have them out of there within a week or so. Not so. So I'm gonna tell you that story and weave in the points of the resolution that we formed. And this resolution is to light a fire among all park groups and neighborhood associations, because scaffolding affects us all. And we don't want to lose our green space and especially our gardens every time there's a scaffolding, whether it's for new construction or repairs. So it seems to me that we have to have a way that Parks isn't just shoved aside in the process. Now, I thought, because I thought I saw it on the DOB website, that the department, that department has to check with any other agency that they might step on, but that did not appear to be the truth when the negotiations between lawyers took place. It seemed as if the DOB always had the final say, and that in fact, this building did not act against DOB rules. It simply imposed itself on parkland. So, it was a sticky wicket that lawyers had to solve. Had they come to Parks at the beginning and also consulted with us, because we've been through many rounds of scaffolding with all these buildings, we could have avoided all this. It could have all been avoided. So to me, it needs to be written into the legislation, because Ralph Bunch Park and Trinity Plaza have also had their run-ins with scaffolding and lost plants, valuable plants. So let's get on with it. Scaffolding reform, protecting our parks and playgrounds, saving our green space. On October 23rd, you can read, but I'll read anyway, a resolution to strengthen bills introduced by City Council under the Mayor's Scaffolding Reform Program was passed by the Board of Directors of Friends of Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza to advocate protection of public parks and playgrounds and their green space. Take a walk with me through time and space. So I've interspersed photographs with the resolution. There's 7 points, and then we get to the final resolution. So here's what we found meeting in that first week of January. And notice there was no explanation either. There's no building permits or anything like that. It was just this big mystery. And the green market was equally blindsided because they happened to be there. It was a Wednesday. So we were all standing there waiting to have this parks meeting, and this is what we found. Okay, next slide, please. Now, you probably all know local law 11. That was a law written many years ago to protect people from falling debris because people were losing lives. And so we are not disputing that we have to protect the public, but when that law was designed and all the regulations that go with it, they were only thinking about sidewalks. And so all the scaffolding pertains to sidewalks. There's nothing that pertains to green space. And of course, green plants need very different things than asphalt. So next slide, please. All right, so here's the footprint. You can see at the vast amount of space. It took up the whole center of the park, all the way to 47th Street. This is Holy Family Church. This is the family school, the Montessori school, squeezed in between one of our charter members, Leslie Nan Haberman, and our vice president. This is the Japan Society. This here is the fencing, and the fencing runs all the way back to 20 feet on either side of the building through the garden. And what we learned in the process is there's a scaffolding contractor group and there's a fencing contractor group, and you have an architect. So the architect comes up with a plan, they go in and install whatever that plan says. Irregardless of, there's a plan there, irregardless of any feature of the park, they just follow the plan, and that's what they did here. So you can see the 2 fountains are enclosed, and it goes over all the way. Well, you'll see in other photos, but needless to say, this could not be ignored. Next slide, please. Now, we're gonna take a little walk through time. Remember this? CB6 worked long and hard to get the road remapped so that the park could be extended out half an acre and the garden came out of this section. So now we have the beautiful Catherine Hepburn Garden. And these buildings here, some of them are old, some are new. The landscape has changed a lot over time. But we've been with CB6 from the start because all of this had to go through ULURP. And it was quite a long and tortured process. Next, please. And then we got our park finally. And a beautiful park at that, designed by George Philonikis. Next park, please. Okay, now you can see that George from his slide designed that dome so that when you stand at one end, you have a perfect view of St. George slaying the dragon. It's a beautiful thing to see at different times of day, but he really thought that one through. And also the dome, the design of the dome is lattice work again, so we wouldn't have that solid feeling. Next. Okay, here we are. Giuliani is here. How the mighty have fallen. But nevertheless, Henry Stern is a real historic moment. Next. And then we dedicated the Catherine Hepburn Garden and to much acclaim, and Liz Smith is here, Sam Waterstein, TV, a lot of personalities came. That was all organized by the Turtle Bay Association. Before the park was even finished, the garden was finished. Next. And we've had solemn ceremonies. This is 9/11. So in other words, the park is not just another park, but all parks are important. I'm not saying that. But this park in particular is an arena for so many different activities, so many different people. And it brings us together as a community. And in Turtle Bay, my own sense is that it's kind of fragmented, and it's the park that brings us all together. But it's a wonderfully diverse community. And that's the thing about our events, is that they engage our community. So when you take a slice out of the middle of the park, it's a heavy blow. Kurt Vonnegut. These are truly historical photos. I don't want to delay them too long, but just to get a feeling of the context. Next. And of course, the Women's March 2017, the largest march in US history. No, that's Ellen.
Let's give the word. Let's go there.
Next. And this is the Alvin Ailey, they have the Alvin Ailey 2 group. They're the ones that are going into being professional, but they're already professional. They came and danced. So we've had so many different performances in Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza. It is an arena. Next. And here's Leslie with her children. I bet they're all in college now. And nevertheless, she would have a maypole ceremony. So, and they're right across the street, and they've suffered enormously. First with COVID and now with this. Next. And of course, we always get together with the Turtle Bay Association for our Catherine Hepburn Garden Party, the YMCA, Vanderbilt Y, wonderful partner. And this is the Voices of Ascension. So all of these different groups we connect with, and we bring them to the plaza, we facilitate these programs. Next. And of course, we love the green market. And we fought for that green market. Adrian Benepe didn't want to do it because he thought right after the park was done, he had pictured Union Square, and he thought the trucks and everything would drop oil on the plaza. He was dead set against this. Again, we came back to community board and worked through it. So now we go to the Green Amendment. I must have some water so you can read that. Well, I take a sip. I walked here from 59. I feel like I did the marathon.
Yeah, hot out there.
This amendment was brought to my attention by one of our members who happens to be a celebrated lawyer. Michael E. Tiger. Google him. He has brought 7 cases. He's in his 80s now, but he brought 7 cases before the US Supreme Court, many of them human rights cases. He got the draft people who were sent to prison because they refused to fight in Vietnam. He got them off. And he fought many celebrated cases. And he is the one that said, you know, that whole mess in that commercial plaza, you have public standing because of the Green Amendment. And that takes precedent, and it should be in all of this legislation. Because it protects the public, and the parks belong to the public. Next. So that kind of fired me up even more. I was already fired up, but that really fired me up. Now, this is the Katharine Hepburn's bench. This bench came from her estate. You can see a plaque there that's engraved that tells the story, and she's sitting there with the New York Times on this very bench. So we have the Katharine Hepburn Garden is quite a storied garden. You may have seen the piece in the style section this year in Katharine Hepburn Garden Project. Next. All right, and here is what they did to it. Now, we had just planted all of this area in the previous year. $2,000 worth of plantings went into this whole back area. And I felt we finally got it right up there to prime. And we had no idea that we would be dealing with this. And that they caught right through, right next to the bench. It's like no rhyme or reason. Drop those sandbags any old place. And right over the plants. Next. And you could just see. A complete disregard for the landscape. Next. And how lush this landscape is. So when Steve Simon called me and he said, well, how much do you think the garden is worth? And I said, how can you put a price on it, Steve? You know, all those plants, the trees are the original trees from the plaza. The viburnums and the understory shrubs are at maturity. What do you pay to go out and get a single shrub that's that large, you know, and they value all this based on they measure the size of the trunk. I said, go get George Vilonicus in there to measure it. But also we redid this garden several times because we had other issues with scaffolding, and over time the plants were hurt, and then you have your natural issues. So we put a lot of money into this garden. And as a result, like I said, it finally had gotten to that point where I felt, yeah, we're world class. All right, thanks. And the fact that they were going to put a second entrance at the other end so people would walk through the garden and come from the sculpture platform to the cafe or vice versa. To me, I thought, now it won't be a secret garden anymore. People will really know about it and they'll use it as their health walk in the morning. So we didn't let the scaffolding stop us altogether. We had our annual garden party to much fanfare. Everyone enjoyed themselves. Katharine Hepburn's alumni group even came. And next slide. And here is our own borough president telling us because that this scaffolding would be gone before Trump's next court appearance, whichever one that might be. So, well, needless to say, that didn't happen. And then it became autumn. And here with the leaves, and now there's several pots. They're all together. I have 4 big planters. All the plants are dead, and these fir trees that were installed last winter for our Christmas decorations, still there, brown. I mean, what kind of message does this send to the public? What kind of message? And then this property manager never met with us, never. You know, they played, Cheryl and he played phone tag for a while, but there was never any kind of genuine effort to make good or to clean up this mess. And it's all off limits. So I can send volunteers in there. And they did have a go in spring at the plaza at this part. But I mean, this area was smelly, you know, everything that goes with scaffolding. Next. So scaffolding with no work performed leads to unlawful behavior, dangerous and derelict conditions, endangering the public, and preventing the enjoyment and benefits of parks, playgrounds, and green spaces. Next. And here, exhibit A, but this went on all summer long, and Cheryl will tell you the noise, the people, you know, getting under there drinking, and just, and we all know scaffolding brings problems. Next, you know, this was just ongoing. Next. And there you see weeds growing up, it just looked totally derelict. Next. Now, scaffolding can be done right. This is the UAE building, United Arab Emirates. And the second time they went around, because the first time there was the period, I think, of financial, a big downturn, credit dried up, all the buildings stopped. And so they went up a few floors and it came down, and then I don't know if the building changed hands or what, but they started over again. And so the first scaffolding that went in was pretty much a disaster. It was changed, but they just went on through wherever. So the second time, fortunately, we were able to head them off at the pass, and we met with them and we talked to them. And I said, instead of running the scaffolding just there, take it all the way to the fence line. And then I had our people move the plants off the fence line, you know, because that has a logic to it. But otherwise, you just get stuck with whatever that plan is, and it has no regard for gardens. But this worked out very well, and the scaffolding was there a long time, but they were good neighbors about it. Right, next. Okay, so the new builds, now what do they tell you? They go a long way in making new materials, making scaffolding more attractive, putting more stringent regulations in terms of getting on with the repairs, because a lot of times buildings don't know that they have all these problems, and then they find out. And then, of course, the owners, co-op board, the condo board has to extract the money from the people who live there. And it takes time to arrange the financing, and so you get delays. You know, some delay is normal, but this can be mapped. These things are predictable. So they're curbing abusive practices, and they're bringing in innovative new materials, architectural design, but they make no provision for preserving public gardens that are deprived of light, water, and maintenance. So whereas public parks and gardens increase the health of residents, economies, and ecologies in an equitable, just manner, and a community rich in parks and gardens increases the desirability of neighborhoods and property values. And so we get on with our $4 million renovation, except it was delayed. So with no provision for maintenance, resulting in a public nuisance. And there's the plan. And then, so towards as it came around, before the General Assembly, next, is it Scott?
Sorry.
Before the General Assembly, Parks decided, well, let's work on the entrance up at the top. And we can at least get that done. Well, they had to seal off some water lines. And then along comes the NYPD and tells them, you gotta move your fence back because we have demonstrations for the UNGA, we have top security, so they had to move their fence back. So Parks moves their fence back, but the scaffolding stays, okay? Next. So through all of this, I kept saying to myself, but wait a minute, we're the stakeholders here. And Friends of Dag Hammarskjöld represent the community and the enhancement, the safety, and the vitality through the investment of private and public funding, volunteer labor, contracted services to preserve, beautify, and maintain the green landscape. So why didn't we have a voice? Next. Now, let's just go back. Once upon a time, there was a park with no friends. This is what it looked like. I took that photo. This is what it looked like everywhere.
What year?
That was like before not,
I would imagine it's more than
I
20
got
years
it,
ago.
I got it somewhere dated, yeah,
Let's hear it.
1990. Yeah, 1990. Yeah, I mean, I was living in the building that Cheryl lives in now, 301 East 47, right there on the corner. And I walked out of the building and I said, they call this a park? A park? The gateway to the United Nations? Next. Now, here we are, and I'm accepting when we're in our $2,000 plant order that we had put in that season before, went off before all this happened. And it took us about 3 weeks. This was group one. People came from Stuyvesant Park, they came from all different parks, word spread, big planting. And you build a park network. So that's another way where we are stakeholders. We're the ones that care. So here they are in spring, a volunteer group sweeping under the scaffolding. The resident manager never, ever sent anyone to sweep. Nor did the building. And you know what, fencing, scaffolding, it attracts that element. So we said, we're going ahead with Oktoberfest. And I get there, Oktoberfest of that morning, and here's this guy sleeping there. I said, we're having an emergency, I have to move. So he went to sleep, went over there to sleep. Next. And we prettied it all up. So there we are, and the scaffolding is still there. Now we got fencing, but we made it look good. And next. And we had our event, and we really felt it's time for the community to experience something wonderful and good that makes them happy. And then we all come together, and the weather was great, and it was a wonderful day. And I'm just saying, you know, all community organizations, they're the ones that bring the vitality and the engagement to parks. And so we should have more of a voice. Next, so here we are signing them up. Next. And of course, we're a very diverse community. You just see the whole rainbow, the whole United Nations at one of our events. The kids had they love to paint these pumpkins. They get so into it. Next. So I leave you with this. Apparently her brother asked her that and she said, I don't know, but just look at that flower. And we have these stepping stones, I guess you know, in the Catherine Hooper Garden. I think we're quite unique in that regard. So, finally. Yeah, so be it resolved that scaffolding reform legislation provide for the preservation of gardens and plant life in New York City parks and green spaces to include lighting specifications, horticultural needs, and consideration of the landscape in the architectural design of safety scaffolding and fencing per codes. These are the codes that regulate those things, with appropriate fines, timelines, and proceedings for violations. Now, something like this has teeth. The FDHP further advocates that the New York State Green Amendment be applied to language pertaining to scaffolding reform legislation. I think that's the end.
It is.
Yes, okay. So there you have it. We are just one of many organizations, and scaffolding will continue to be part of everyone's lives. Manhattan has the most scaffolding of all, and it's the most concentrated and the most vertical. So you're always going to have buildings coming out, buildings going up. And you know, people that have terraces and such, they can lose their terrace for 2 years. People have moved out, and yet that property manager advertises, after letting the park go like this, advertises in all their literature, what a beautiful park this is. Oh, you know, you must buy this unit. And they don't know what they're gonna get sucked for, paid for this, but nevertheless, that is not my concern. Except that it seems to me it doesn't have to be. And if all it really requires is coordination beforehand, but that will never happen if it's not written into the law. I feel, you know, it's you're dealing with bureaucracies, and once lawyers get involved, everything gets dragged out. There's very little communication because nobody wants to upset the apple cart. And it's behind closed doors. And so you pull for just any kind of information that you can get. We have yet to ever see a schematic or a drawing. But when I heard about the first plan they had, that they were ready to sign off on, except that the the property manager dragged his feet over the bond. They wanted $200,000 bond. He thought that was too much. That is nothing for gardens. But nevertheless, he dragged his feet. Then he fired the architect. Then they hired a new architect. The new architect came up actually with a better plan, but it's taken all this time, and they could have come up with a good plan to begin with. So we have to, I think, make our voices heard in a timely manner. This legislation is already on the table. We have a meeting tomorrow with our councilman, Holly, I believe her name is Haley Bundridge. She's the legislative director, to see what will it take to get wording in there. The first time we had a meeting with Keith was much earlier in the season, and we were asking, could we lose the funding, the capital funding for this? And he said, no. I said, but there's no shovel in the ground. Maybe they wanted to get the shovel in the ground when they finally came in and just decided, well, let's start doing something so we don't lose the contractor. That's a big problem, you know, except you have housework on any of your property, what it's like to line people up. So Parks was very concerned they were gonna lose the contract. So now it's your turn really to tell me how you think CB6 could be involved with this and what kind of questions you might have and how we might really get this into legislation.
Well, we can do a resolution, which would further what Keith's office would be doing.
In other words, you would do the resolution and give it to Keith, or the other way around?
We do a resolution.
Yeah, and it could be more encompassing.
Yeah.
See, we're only, you could be talking about the whole district versus that CB6 is, whereas we're just talking about East Midtown, because that's kind of what I can get my mind wrapped around.
Yeah, so I think we could do that.
Questions, thank you first of all for that wonderful trip down memory lane. My kids went to the family school for 7 years, so in fact, the photo of Leslie is with my children's class.
There you are.
So that's a very
So
special
true. It's
space for
very
me.
good. Not getting a
But
permission.
I'm a new board member, so I don't have all the history that many of the board members here have. So quick question. This resolution, not the resolution, the piece of legislation that you're talking about, is the entire borough not involved in that, like all the green groups not
The
involved?
way it works, from what I have seen, is that there's been a few articles, and we have someone helping with us that is an expert in this area. But they write these things called intros because they're introducing legislation. So there's a whole bunch of them, and I went through them and read them, and they're not long-winded, they're kind of short, and that's partly, I think, they're failing because they're not very specific. And I can only find two about parks. One, Keith wrote, no cross-brace scaffolding, because he saw this cross-brace scaffolding here, when he was in the park. And I was complaining, look what they did to the plan, so I sent it over there. So he said, no cross-brace scaffolding. Well, cross-brace scaffolding in itself is not the issue. What is the issue is what you design to address the needs, you know, and that has to be done with some thought. So, you know, now, then they came up with a scaffolding in the garden that was gonna have a metal roof. I said, how are you gonna light all those plants all of that time? And they said, well, there'll be a natural light. And I said, well, look, you know, lighting for the sidewalk, it has to have lighting. So I said, just ask for fluorescent lighting and you can switch fluorescent tubes with horticultural. It's done all the time in the grow houses. But they don't listen, you see, they're not interested in what I have to say. They're into their legal back and forth. And it's very difficult at that point to make a suggestion that is welcome. It's kind of like, yeah. So that's why I say it's gotta be it's gotta be written in the legislation. Another thing that I noticed, a point with parks is positive. There is a council member on the west side, Hell's Kitchen, Chelsea, I think he goes all the way down to Chelsea. He had a playground when the mural was completely defaced, it was a historic mural. And so he said, no, so he wrote in that you couldn't have, and they just added language to it, that something that already existed. That said you couldn't block a bus stop, they just said, or a park entrance. Well, okay, but what about that Hammershow Plaza, you know? And all the years that we've seen this scaffolding, no one ever came out any further than the seating wall. So clearly there was very little thought put into this, and they just drew something and the scaffolding company came and did it. And these companies make a lot of money. They have very powerful unions now because it's become such a lucrative business. So reform is definitely something that needs to happen, and it's happening now. And these bills are already on the table, and I'm gonna find out tomorrow from Holly a better sense of what can you get done at this point. But certainly if CB6 adds their voice, and by the way, Sandy McKee was among that group that did that last planting, so she knows the garden. And that was not her first time as a
When was
volunteer.
that?
Sandy.
No,
Sandra.
the planting. The planting, when was that?
That was in 2023,
It was the
August.
fall. Yeah,
Yeah.
Reshma and I were also there.
Yeah, okay, so you,
So which assembly member is introducing the bill, in the legislature?
it's actually all under Keith.
Keith Powers?
Mhm. And the borough president, but I think Keith is actually doing more.
The reason I ask is I know I was there last year, not earlier this year, there's some state assembly, and I saw that when they were introducing bills, this is what I was suggesting, that when you have one group, with many other groups of the exact same interest, why not rally them all to get behind you? So for instance, all green groups. I
Right.
belong to one of them on the Upper East Side, we don't have the issue with scaffolding yet, but from what you're saying, it seems like. It's
Yeah, I'm
We'll give
reaching
it-
out, like Turtle Bay has already signed on to this, Van Barton has signed on, Friends of Ralph Bunch has signed on. I just haven't had time to get to the other ones, because I'm putting this together in a flurry of, okay, we've gotta get this done now, and we've gotta get it done now. And how am I gonna do this? And this is how I landed here.
Yes.
Sandy actually handed the whole scaffolding issue, which it doesn't maybe belong in public safety and sanitation. But I'm on that committee, it's on the agenda tomorrow, it was on the agenda last week. I wonder if there can't be a co-committee type of resolution? Because it could also address the parks issue,
Why would it be?
because Sandy
They're
wants
kinda
us to
different.
deal
I
with
guess it's
the.
public safety.
It's not a public safety issue. Sandy gave it to this committee because of the new,
Well,
Laws
you
and
see,
rules
you know,
that are
people
going on.
feel unsafe when you have that scaffolding situation. It's dark, it attracts an element that you
Can you
don't
just unmute
necessarily
Gina?
want your child there. Well, I was gonna call it the spook tunnel during Halloween. We actually put up a spider web at the entrance and a big spider.
Maybe you should recognize her and show up.
Oh, Sheena, you can unmute yourself. Welcome.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. So we got a little bit of good news. We talked to Steve today, and we're making some progress at removing the wooden construction from the area, and just moving it back to like towards the construction area. So we taking its big space and scaling it back, I should say. The DOB did issue some violations to the scaffolding company, and I guess which is associated with the building. They did this, in the, like overnight. When this, we had, we were unaware that this happened until the next day when we came. And the scaffolding was up. And once it's up, it's very difficult in getting it, and getting it taken down, right? Because you have to go through so much to get it down. And Steve has been working very hard at trying to get the scaffolding scaled back to, so we can start, and we can work on our construction, because we had the construction at the same time, and I'm sure they were unaware of that when they did this, right? And it just so happened to be simultaneously. So we're working on that. Hopefully, we'll have some answers in a few days on how this is going to be, how this is going to work. Our capital project, is going to go and renovate. He just sent this to me just right. He said the architect is working on a revised plan for a much smaller shed and scaffolding that would minimal impact on the park. Our capital project to renovate the fountain and create a secondary egress for the garden should be able to proceed shortly after the fencing is removed. So he just sent that to me just now. So hopefully, soon, rather sooner than later, this will take place and we'll get the park back. This was very, disturbing to us too, but it took some time for us to work through all of the paperwork and all of the legalities with the scaffolding company, the building, and parks. It wasn't an easy thing to do, and we were blindsided by this. And DOP, because they made it such an emergency, DOP granted them the permit without really further investigating. And I guess they did that. I'm only guessing because all of these issues that they're having with buildings falling down in different states. So I guess they want to, in different boroughs as well. So I guess they want to take precaution and do it, but it's taking a while to get this done. So we're working real fast at it right now.
And I have to say, the Parks Department has been the one that has suffered. I mean, we've suffered, but Parks has suffered enormously. It is they are the agency, and to be whiplashed around like this and keep thinking that you're close to a solution and then tell us, and then we write something and then end up with egg on our face because we think, oops, it didn't happen the way we said it was gonna happen. So I stopped writing. I just stopped writing about it until I could get something that wasn't the same thing we said already. I just want to say one thing, Shayna,
Yes.
can you?
I can hear you.
Son, how are you? And
Okay.
you've done wonderful things, so this is only a point. But everything else we have to deal with, this is a public health issue. That shed, that long shed, has become the place of, what shall we say, protection for very difficult behavior. It's a bathroom in plain English. Now, people who don't live over there don't have to be subjected to this. It's a constant, not just the odor, it is a public health issue.
It is, I agree.
And everyone else who has to pass by. I'm at the UN, everyone is calling me over there because they're afraid to walk under the shed from Second Avenue to First Avenue. This is ridiculous. I have an ambassador telling me this is your Calcutta, which is actually to me an insult to Calcutta. But this is how they're thinking, how terrible, and it reflects on all of us. So the cleanup is not, you're doing a fantastic job. My apartment faces the plaza. So besides all the other problems we have, this has become a haven for this type of incredible misbehavior, being black.
Well, according to Steve, they were violated. They were issued violations for a lot of the stuff that we spoke about. We sent pictures of the conditions that's, currently there now and what we projected to take place. And they issue fines to the scaffolding company in the building. unfortunately, everybody just gives everybody the runaround, right? It's hard to get in touch with the building people. They tell you to speak to this one, you speak to that one, you're gonna speak to someone else. So it just goes on and on and on and on and on. DOB is the one that have to come down on them in order for them to scale back this thing and fix the problems that they already created. This was done blindsided by us. And I understand that some of us don't live in the area and you all do live in the area, but we have to follow, the proper protocol, set up by DOB, and Parks is trying their best. We've been fighting this since the day they put the scaffolding up. We've been going back and forth with them. They have not shown up sometimes. They have shown up. They have sent misrepresentation there. So it's been a lot. It's been a fight. So we're making some movement now, and
Have
hopefully.
you been in on any of the meetings, Sheena?
Say again.
Have you been invited, have you sat in on any of those meetings? With
Yeah,
Parks?
but it was mainly with our Parks team and the contractor that was there to make the repairs for DAG. When we received the money for to make the repairs, and we were trying to negotiate. We were really trying to negotiate on how we were going to work around this and get this, get the scaffolding down. But it's up to the building and the scaffolding company to come through, and DOB have to come down on them. So Steve has worked hard at that, very hard. He's been going back and forth. So we make some leeway.
This didn't have to happen. And that's why I'm here to say we must get legislation that protects parks, all parks.
So, yeah, we could do a resolution. We could put something
Wouldn't
together.
scaffolding and street and, so the sheds be under, the,
The HUD?
land use? The DOB, land use deals with DOB, so that's something that.
But you deal with parks and I'm here to defend parks.
Yeah, I understand, but.
I guess.
Now, yes, it is a public safety issue to what Cheryl says, you get this kind of rowdy element there, people on drugs, what have you. And of course, it endangers the public. And it's a nuisance, a public nuisance. And that goes back to New York State green law. You have a right to a clean, healthy, green environment.
So they're taking the angle of parks to actually, I guess, protect the park, ensure that constitutional amendment that is in there is applied to, parks and protection of parks.
But I think it strengthens.
Yeah.
It
Well,
strengthens.
yeah, it's actually putting
It
it
adds
to work,
another
right?
layer of authority.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think we could do a resolution.
You'll be getting something from Keith's office tomorrow insofar as
But we have a
what info
Zoom
that
meeting
they're,
with Paul,
that they
who's the legislative director, and I'll find out what, and I'll write a memorandum afterwards.
if you could pass that on to us, then.
If I find out anything new. I mean, I already have all these intros and I read through them, and like I said, they're very general. And they touch on parks, it's as if they needed to squeeze parks into the legislation they already wrote, because they wanted to get it.
Rather than reinventing a wheel, if you could pass on to us what you do have then.
Well, you have already the
Yeah,
resolution I sent you.
resolution, yeah.
No, in regards to the intros that mentions parks, because we would be writing something that would then refer to
Oh,
something.
those intros, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, because then, again, rather than reinventing the wheel,
Sure.
because there are things, it's mentioned generally in some places, just not strong enough.
She
Yeah,
has
so
a
we could
question
send
for
that
you.
over.
If DOB has given a permit for someone to establish scaffolding in a green space, they don't require a permit from New York City Parks Commission?
You asking Sheena?
Yeah, I don't know if she can hear. Sheena, could you hear me? You're on mute. See? You're still on mute. I'm not sure how to do it.
She should be able to hear you, you just can't hear her. Looks like she's trying to unmute herself.
While she's getting that working, I just wanted to insert that this costs us money with our funders because we can't plan when you don't know what's happening. And so whether, for example, I had New York Glass come to me and they had money, they wanted to, they were there last year, they put on a comedy show, wonderful. And they came and she just had extra money, she wanted to make sure to spend it, she wanted to spend it with us. I said, I can't tell you a thing, and that you know, better you shop around elsewhere.
Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. I couldn't unmute for some reason. Now, can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Sheena was just asking that if any of the city parks, any of the green spaces we have, if DOB has already given someone a permit to build a scaffolding, they don't require a permit from New York City Parks as well?
They do, but this, if they deem it, if the building deems it an emergency, if it happens overnight or something like that, we won't get contacted until it's actually already done. And then, you know, once we reach out to DOB and say, listen, we didn't get contacted, they'll send us the paperwork on it. So that essentially happened. They deemed it emergency. So this took place after hours. We leave at 3:30 and we come back in the morning and we see this out there, and then we reached out to DOB. And that's how we were able to find out what happened.
But they did first announce it in September of 2023. It wasn't until January that the scaffolding went in. So there was communication of some kind. I think it just got kind of like forgotten about. Steve said that he was told that it wouldn't interfere with construction, and it was left at that until this monstrosity appeared on the plaza.
And they haven't even touched the building.
Yeah, of course not.
I mean, the hope is
That-
not to fall
that-
down, it'll fall
Not a
down.
single bit of work has been done.
Ridiculous.
Yes,
What's the status of the Keith Powers legislation? Because he's been talking about this for 2 years. He was out on the street talking to a lot of people. He was petitioning in his last council race, which did not have an opponent, but nonetheless, scaffolding was a major issue among people who, from 93rd, I don't know about, all the way down to 33 and further. So, does anybody know that? Didn't something pass where he got something through, it may have been that which Ann referred to that is not helpful to parks particularly. Okay, I think his idea, Marty Barrett's idea to incorporate some of the info and some of Ann's resolution, very specific, talking about particularly local law 10 and a couple of the other things that she mentioned as far as the code. I'm not sure what you, but they were very specific, would be very good.
Well, we have a
If
structural
nothing
engineer on
else,
our board.
and then somebody, it was in the body of the film that I saw, and I was sort of impressed that you got so, that there was something existed that we could refer to. And that would make very good legislation if anybody wants to propose it. You know, I mean, this can go on indefinitely, yeah, but something should be done, even if it's not gonna be put into effect, that people aren't gonna listen to it, it should be done anyway.
Well, it will go into effect, whatever goes into effect, is gonna be what you live with for the next, 30 years, 20 years? And like I said, we cannot continue to invest in the garden and get people to pay for, plants and stuff, only to have them wiped out every time somebody's gotta do some facade work. So there has to be a sensitivity to the landscape.
yeah.
Simple as that, and it can be done at the beginning, not, between lawyers.
Okay, so what I think, if you could send that over, some of the information that Marty was asking, because it
Yeah.
would be great, we can.
I'll
use
do
your
that.
language. I was
and
thinking
I'll-
that,
And I'll write up
yeah,
a
just
memo
to-
for my meeting tomorrow.
yeah, perfect, and then you can send it over,
Well, thank you, I mean, we've been with CB6 the whole way through this, and, I know you don't want to see this repeated, none of us do.
Yeah.
But the fact that it happened is a big lesson. I had no idea.
Okay, but also the conversion of zoning and the city of Yes, and these amazing projects that are all over, that are just, pandemic to the whole city right now, will be affected by scaffolding. So it's timely to do this.
Yeah. Is, any other questions? Well, thank you so much for joining us. Very
Yeah,
nice to
thank
see you.
Jesus for giving it up and just having it there, but.
Yeah.
So the committee tomorrow.
Great presentation.
Yeah, really regarding.
There were some remarks.
Last year.
Read them out loud.
The Eve holiday lights.
I mean, they look like more just comments.
So Leslie's the one who's connected me to.
And Cheryl,
Next
thank you
one,
for
please,
asking
Jenny.
me, has Trent been in touch with the mayor's office? No, we don't have
I
a
would be in
contact
touch.
there.
No, you're
Give me-
listening to.
Yeah, so, okay, so what we'll do, we'll go to the,
For the land use.
okay, hold on.
Are there any
So,
more questions there?
Yeah, Sandy
Are
decided.
there any more questions?
See somebody's hand up.
no, I don't have any questions.
No, I see this.
Oh, okay, so that's,
Oh, let's look at a list.
yeah, that's Alyssa, so she's telling us what happened at, two
Lost
other
their, all
parks.
their plant materials due to scaffolding. It's now infested with invasive weeds.
Right,
That Therese Flores was the first one to look at that. She works in the Parks Department. She
yeah,
was fuming, but she can't do anything except, what within her station to do. So it's been very frustrating. for
Kevin's
Parks.
also got a question out.
yeah, so that one, Alyssa, she's telling us about what's going on.
Spring
in
without
the township and
notice
the other-
parks, at Butch, there was even a DOB permit in place when the scaffolding went up.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, I mean, we've been.
There was
speaking
not
to
even
them,
a
it's-
DOB.
Yeah, that just popped up, so, yeah, no, I know, and then Kevin suggested, contacting the mayor's office of climate and environmental justice, so that's a possibility, I guess. I like that,
Yeah, and the
Vibes.
controller's office has a very big, arm also for environmental, they have a whole group that focuses on just environmental stewardship in New York City. It's working at it. No,
yeah,
and the comptroller's office.
What division of the mayor's office is climate and environment?
climate and environmental justice.
Oh, that kind of ties in with the Green Amendment there. Yeah, but this has to be done quickly because they want to shove these bills through, and of course, everybody's up for reelection. So there's a lot of political shuffling.
Yeah.
But what a legacy this would be for Keith Powers to say, I did this for parks, all the parks in New York City.
Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
he's running, yes, thinking he's running for borough president.
Yeah.
Nothing
So
happens
they-
quickly though.
So maybe, well, they will sign these bills because they can shove them through. And there was a public hearing and we weren't even notified. We weren't even notified. And Keith knows this because he's been to the park. He was under the scaffolding in NYP when they were making the burgers for Night Out Against Crime. He was under the scaffolding as Judge Rain. So,
Oh, so that's why the 17th precinct, National Night Out did not get canceled. The
Right.
13th precinct down in Augusta St. Gardens got
that's
canceled.
the
People
scaffolding.
say, yeah, when.
I would not
Yeah.
want to have a lunchroom.
See,
under
there
there.
is one good benefit. That's it. That's the only thing we got out of
I
it.
guess Parks had to get in there clean underneath Parks, but, cause I know we didn't, it just got worse and worse, I'm telling you. You don't wanna be under that scaffolding.
Yeah. So, okay, so we'll send that over and then we'll take it from there. And, thank you so much
Thank you.
and come
Thank
visit
you,
again.
Dana. We love you for all that you do. Thank you. And your plumes. It's true. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, it's very nice seeing you all.
So, all right, we now move on to the next part of the agenda, or the next item on the agenda would be the report from New York City Department of Parks and Recreation.
Hi, you can still hear me?
I'll stay and listen to the report, maybe there's something else there.
Thank you.
So-
I like to hear what the rest of the report is, if it has anything else to add. I don't know, if there else you can add. You're staying for the remainder 5 minutes.
Neil, you can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi there. So, so Therese Flores is no longer with us, in this sector. She's further down. She's in District 3, on the Lower East Side, the East River Park down by Battery and, Tompkins and Sarah D. So she has that area now. And I have with me our new regional manager. His name is Robert McLean. He's actually sitting next to me. Something is wrong with our computer here. We're at our main office, and that's Mike. I'm using my phone. So we're gonna give you like a small presentation about the vital parks. For parks that our borough commissioner wanted us to share with CB6. And this is just to let you know what Vital Parks is. Mike is gonna introduce himself, and then he's gonna speak to you. And then I'm gonna show you some bullet points from our CB6 area. Okay, so here's Mike.
Yeah, hi, can you hear?
Yes.
Can you hear? She asked you if they can-
Oh, you can't hear them, Mike?
I'm just asking if they
You
can.
can't enter in.
Mike, I don't think. Can you hear Mike?
No.
No.
No, they can't hear you, Mike. They said. I'm going to so I'm gonna take these out. And you're gonna do it like this. No, I'm saying it's not just designed for Teams on my personal phone.
It's kind of going in and out.
I'm sorry. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know why this thing is slow. Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you.
No, Mike. They can hear you, Mike. You have to talk here.
Okay, can you see my second screen over here? I'm on the screen share.
No, we see your ear.
Yeah. Go ahead. I want to do a screen sharing if you can set me up for that.
If you're on your phone, you may not be able to do it because.
No,
I have it on my computer
we
screen. over
on
here.
our desktop, right? So I'm just using it to speak to you because we have no sound on our computer here because our computers are not set up for Zoom. They're set up for
Teams.
Teams. So it's very difficult. I was wondering if we can still share our screen with you.
Hold on. I think the issue is that, are you signed in as Robert McLean?
I am.
Yes.
But I need to promote you to panelist, so
Okay.
you should get a notification saying.
Join as panelists.
Yes. Yeah, agree to join as panelist, there we go.
Okay. So Mike, hit start video. And then hit unmute. Can you hear Mike? Hold on. Can you hear him now? Mike, go to your computers.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
It's a little low, but
Yeah.
Can you hear them now, Mike?
Yes. How about now? Better?
yeah.
Can you see my second screen?
Oh,
Not yet.
No, can you share your screen? You have the capability now. There should be a share button at the bottom. Green with an arrow.
Okay, you can see it now?
Yes, now we can, but
Okay.
magnify it because the print is very, very small.
I tell you what, this has worked very good in the past. I do not know it was working fine this afternoon. I can, let me see here. I can read off. I know the print is small. Shall I just read off the text and then we'll see if we can live with that?
Okay, there's no way to.
can you magnify from your end?
I think he can just do it with his hands.
Maybe just reading it off mic is good.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, yeah, in the interest of time, we can just read it off of there.
Yeah.
Or Mike
Oh,
can.
yeah, apologize for this.
No, no worries.
Okay, we're going to start out with the top of the screen where it says Vital Parks for All, investing in New York City living infrastructure. NYC Parks' vision to strengthen our city's health, environment, and communities through our parks system. Parks are essential. Parks touch every facet of our city lives. Unlike other forms of infrastructure, parks evolve and grow over time, strengthening our cities and its residents. NYC's 30,000 acres of parks, thousands of amenities, and 5.7 million street trees are under our care. They combat extreme heat, filter stormwater, and clean our air. They connect diverse New Yorkers, unifying communities, and foster safety through upgraded facilities, programming, and stewardship. They are an oasis in a dense and frantic city, providing needed space for play, reflection, and exercise. Why not? I'm so sorry. Why now? Just as we invest in better roads and sewers, we need to invest in our parks now to help safeguard our city's present and future. There's more people are using our parks since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The effects of climate change are intensifying. People are more lonely, anxious, and in need of social connection, and parks infrastructure is aging. Our plan, parks needs to be clean, safe, and green, and resilient, and supported by educated and empowered New Yorkers. We must set high standards to serve all neighborhoods equitably, to engage communities in the planning and the caring for their parks system, and prioritize investments where they are needed the most. For select strategic initiatives, we want stronger parks, safer communities, a $256 million investment in parks facilities in priority precincts identified by the Mayoral Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, complemented by over 1,000 free outdoor programs to activate parks and to foster community improving safety. We are growing wetlands, gaining resilience, a $1 million investment in resiliency to advance 19 priority wetland projects in NYC's environmental justice areas. And we have Let's Green New York, a program to empower 500,000 plus New Yorkers with opportunities to steward and improve their parks, connecting with nature and one another, and improving health. What makes a park system vital? A park system is vital when New Yorkers have access to green spaces that are clean, safe, and alive with nature, people, community, and resilient to climate change. Below, we've identified many of the elements that contribute to a vital parks system. 1 second. Which is here. What makes a park system vital? For the, let me see here. Below, we've identified many of the elements that contribute to a vital park system, which should be accessible to New Yorkers within a short walk or quick transit ride. We want the parks to be clean and safe, have drinking fountains or spray features, have parks enforcement patrol officers, pool or beaches, public restrooms, and playgrounds. We want green and resilient elements. We want street trees, greenways, forever wild natural areas, community gardens, and waterfronts. We want engaged and empowered elements, park partner groups, public programs, or special events. We want volunteer and stewardship events. I apologize for everything. Like I said, around noon, this thing was working fine, so I don't know what happened to the camera and the computer.
No, thank you so much for presenting.
Okay, so
And then now we'll take, Sheena will do this, yeah?
let me get this because it's not working. Hello. Hi, now you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
the
so-
question- Okay, yeah, go ahead, Sheena, sorry.
Okay, so what the parks essentially did, right? They got a team together, and they broke it down by borough, the vital parks within the 5 boroughs, and they did it by district, right? And they pointed out the elements within each district for each borough, and they put it on the parks intranet for everyone to be able to see, right? So I'm sharing the screen now with you. If you can see, it says Vital Parks Explorer. Can you see it?
Yes, we
Yes.
Right. So here are the breakdown that the Parks Department has broken down. I'm sorry, Mike. So that pertains that we're in our District 6. That's vital to our section. It's telling you that the active recreation areas, people living within 10 minutes of athletic field, a sports court like basketball, now pickleball, and skate park. And Community Board 6, right? This community is 84%, and citywide it's at 79%. So we are above. We have plenty within the 10 walk wild in District 6. The next one is the community garden. We fall short a little here. We only have 14% in the community gardens within the 10 walk space. Cooling centers within District 6 is the next one. We have 94%. Dog runs, 73%. Unfortunately, we don't have, wild nature areas within our area. We don't have an abundance of that. Greenways, 62%. Hikes and trails, we have none, right? Nature centers, we have none. New and renovated parks, 85% in District 6. So we are excelling, right? Most of our parks are being renovated in the District 6 area. We're just focused on the District 6 area for the parks. Partner groups, we have pretty much a partnership group in mostly all of our parks. That's in District 6. Park enforcement is 58%. Could it be more? Of course, we would love to have more, park enforcement, but we in some sort of patrol in the area. Our police force is great in this district, and that's at 58%. Playgrounds, we have playgrounds within 10 minutes of each other. You can get to one of our playgrounds. Recreation center as well, 78%. And this just tells you all why, how our district is doing. And of course, there's a need for more, especially with street trees, right? Which we're gaining, and citywide is 42%, but we're up in District 6, right? In District 6 is 63%. So these and recreation centers, 78%. So we are we're doing greater than a lot of other areas within the borough, within our actual borough. And this is, you can reach this at on the Parks intranet, and go to Vital Parks, and you can see this whole outline for District 6. It'll tell you, a map will come up, but it'll tell you for the whole 5 boroughs. You could just click on whatever borough and whatever district, and this will come up. I'm going to also send you this, Neil, and you can share it with CB6 and in the pamphlets I'm going to send out to you as well. I'm going to print and send out so we can distribute it to people, and you could just put it on your on CB6 website. And we thought this was very important to bring to the community board and to the city, so people can go online and look and see how well we are doing in each borough and each district. And you can also look at other districts and see that we're doing so much better than a lot of areas. And I thought this was a great thing that they did. Parks did. The Parks IT team, and the different groups that got together to put this together. This was like so essential to a lot of, for the community as well as us in Parks. To see how well we're doing. Of course, we can always do better, but I think District 6 is on the board to get in a lot of new things, especially in other new parks that came along. Anyone have any questions before I go on to the other district stuff that I should mention as well? Okay, so
I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm gonna send it, and then you can see it. Then you can just look in depth for it. But it's on the Parks intranet, so if anyone wants to go, it's open for everyone to view it.
Okay.
So we opened up Murphy's Brothers playground, which was beautiful. It was a beautiful opening, and with 2 big dog runs, a beautiful bright green playground, the athletic field, new basketball court. The restroom is coming. The public restroom is coming within, I think next year we're going to start for the public restroom. We already ironed out the space there for it, for the public restroom. And that should be happening either later in the year or the beginning of 2026, that we're going to start the renovation for that. Vincent Albano, we opened up Vincent Albano last Friday playground. We were able to put some new benches, compliments of my borough chief and the borough commissioner, because that wasn't really a part of the renovation, but they had some extra benches, and we were able to purchase them, and we stained them. We didn't paint them, so we thought the stain benches brought a better beauty to the playground. It complemented the playground. I didn't want to paint them, and I'm really trying hard not to paint them, but I just thought it brought some beauty to it. It just enlightened and brought out some, like coming in invitation to coming into the park, and hopefully it can stay that way. I'm going to try my hardest to keep it that way, and not paint them, because I think the green benches was just a little too dull. I think this brought it out, and a lot of people were very excited when we opened the park up. It did come with a spray shower. You couldn't see it because the weather, and we turned off the water, but it has a drinking fountain, and it has a spray unit that we would turn on in the spring to summer months. We would activate that. And hopefully soon we'll be working on St. Barton's playground. Hopefully by the next spring, the St. Barton's playground should start. And I don't have a definitive date on Augusta St. Garden, but once I get it, I will bring it to the board's attention.
Okay,
And I think that's about it. If anyone have any questions, I'm here to answer.
What's the projected timeline on the extension of the Greenway from 53rd Street down?
That's it's actually not in my district, but Rob can answer that. What's the projected timeline for the Greenway from 53rd on up?
53rd,
Yeah, is that phase 3?
well, 53rd to 60th is done. They're doing the drawing from 37th to 53rd.
So from 37, are you talking from 37 to 53rd?
Yes.
They're drawing it up now.
They're drawing it. They're in the process of getting things together now and drawing it up now.
And Skanska, can you hear me?
The Queensville town was perforated. Yeah. Slowed it down a little bit.
And but soon as we get that information, a more accurate timeline, we'll make sure we present it to CB6.
You can tell them Skanska, the contractors that did 53rd to 60th, did their proposal today to see if they could get.
Okay, so a little good news. The Skanska, the contractor for the 37th to 53rd, did their proposal today. So once all of that gets into work, we will come back to you and let you know. Okay?
yeah, thanks. So we have some questions from the public. Let me see the first one. Okay, so we have some questions about information with the proposed, can you give us some information about the proposed closing of Ashley Levy Rec Center?
Ashley Levy Rec Center closing?
Closing for renovations?
We also got a call this morning from a constituent who's a user of the rec center, who said that she had heard that there was gonna be some renovation done to the HVAC, and that as a result, the Astor Levy Rec Center was gonna be closed for a significant period of time. And she and other users are worried because that's their rec center, and if it's closed for a long time, they're not gonna have anywhere to go.
So are you aware of that, or?
I'm not aware of that. Recreation is within the area that I work out of, and I wasn't told of anything. I will send the chief an email today, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. I have no knowledge of that closing, of anything of that nature. So I'll ask them. I'll send them an email this evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we also have a question from someone, Evelyn. I lost it. Okay. Yeah, Evelyn. So she has a question. She's a member of the Sutton Place Parks Conservancy. And in June of this year, the water main valve providing irrigation to the newly renovated park broke down and the water supply was shut down. Since then, the plants and trees have suffered and we have lost much of the foliage that was recently planted. How can we get this problem fixed?
Well, the area is it's slated for a capital project. And we're actually waiting for the capital project to come to fruition. The capital for the Sutton Place. Hold on, I have Steve here. For the Sutton Place.
Well, we have money to do.
Hold on, Steve. They can't hear you because we. Hold on. Got it. Because our thing is all messed up. We don't have Zoom. Okay.
We have funding from Councilmember Powers to do the entry way at Southern Place Park at 55th Street. And we're still working out the our queue, so the plan for working on capital projects for this fiscal year. So we don't have any specifics yet on when we're going to begin the planning process for that project.
It's
Steve, what
it
they're
is-
asking about is that on 54th
57th.
Street, on 57th, the valve at the main, I've been trying to reach you for a week.
Yeah.
It's Letty, hello.
Well, hello. Well, I don't know if it's a valve. There is a significant water a leak in the water line that connects into that park, and I don't have an answer right now on that. We're trying to get an estimate from a contractor who we had already approached about putting in a water fountain, and now we also have to ask him about putting in irrigation. We're trying to satisfy. We've been offered a grant by Assemblymember Boris to do this work, and we're trying to satisfy the requirements of that grant. So we have to come up with a new estimate for that purpose.
You know, the water is really critical. Can we in any way expedite the repair of the water main or the valve or whatever it is? I know that Assemblyman Boris is interested in that as well, and he'll probably be in touch with you at some point.
Yeah. Well, if we're frankly, if we're relying upon a state grant, the word expedite doesn't quite fit, because it just takes a long time to actually obtain the money through the state. So it's a cumbersome process. So if we need to expedite this work, we might have to look elsewhere.
Okay, and might we at some point offline talk about 55th Street Park and stuff? If you find a few minutes for me.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, I haven't gotten back to you because I'm waiting to get an answer from my capital division on when they think they can do that work.
Oh, okay, and hopefully we can get an answer on the valve as well, or the main, whatever it is. So thank you.
All righty. Do you have anything else for me?
What about Asher leave it closing?
I'm gonna call Ken.
Oh, yeah, that's a different question. All right, very good. Did we tell you? But we've done a lot of great stuff in Board 6 lately. We're opening up 3 parks after they've all been renovated. I hope we've already mentioned that.
Of course we did.
Okay, well, it's worth mentioning again.
Okay.
Sheena's terrific. Sheena's terrific. She's on top of everything.
I don't. Of course she is. Okay, I give you back to the wonderful Sheena Kaufman.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Hello.
Sheena, next question is,
Parks and Recreation, so I'm pulling it back.
all right. As a next question we have, do you know when the Vital Parks Manhattan Forum is scheduled for? I heard other boroughs had been scheduled.
What you mean? What do you mean?
The
Schedule.
Vital Parks Manhattan Forum?
It's already up and running.
Right, but I guess if they're referring to a forum, is it?
There's a forum in conjunction with the Borough President's Office.
Mhm.
Supposedly it's due to take place Monday, November 25th at 6:30 at the Chelsea Recreation Center. They're putting together flyers. They haven't come out yet, but they've asked CV6 and other community boards to sponsor, so we've agreed to co-sponsor. But once the flyers are out, we will put them in our blasts and our newsletters, so those who are if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, please do so. But the information that we have tentatively is Monday, November 25th, which I believe is the Monday before Thanksgiving, at 6:30, Chelsea Recreation Center.
Okay. And then, Evelyn from, this is also again Sutton Place Parks Conservancy. She has a question about the benches at the park. She would like to know, how is the wood going to be maintained? The bench.
It's natural. Those, if I'm not mistaken, the ones there are plastic. Some of them are plastic and some of them are wood. The wood is maintained. We don't paint. Well, we haven't painted those benches, and we would like to keep them as natural as possible. A lot of the areas in the Sutton Place is actually are all natural. That's how we're not looking to paint any of them, except for the ones that's in 55th. Those are the older ones. Those are the older versions ones. That's the one that, you know, they threw the bench over in the water and everything. Those are the green ones that we painted.
Okay, and so also it looks like another member, same member from the Sutton Place Parks Conservancy, just noting that they are always ready to work with parks to address any challenges. Just a note with the Conservancy, so in June, as they noted, the 57th Street Park, so in June, we had the streak of 95, 100 degree weather. They had a bucket brigade out there, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., so very dedicated. And I don't believe there are any other questions. No, that's.
Well, she says they have money to pay for the water main. So can you come up with a contractor and the Sutton Place Parks will pay for it?
That could be a way to go. But the state was given, they were given a grant, and I do get it. The grants do take a long time. It's a filtering process to get it done. If we can find some way to expedite that, if from other funding, I can ask Steve if they're willing to pay for it, to expedite it. You know, I just hate for them to lose the grant, right? It's, you know, it was granted for them.
Tina, it's Letty. Steve is aware of all of that. I know he's overworked, but this is an emergency. And at this point, we really need some attention to this. So either you get on him or I'll get on him.
Well, if you're looking to pay for it outside of the grant, then that might expedite it faster.
We've told him that.
Okay, so we just have to. I'll keep on them with it. I will keep on depressing with it.
And if he would get the amount,
I sure will.
Okay.
All right. I
Thank
will.
you.
I'll have him work on it. I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
That's to see to get the private contract.
I don't think we have any other questions from the public.
Sheena, I like your glasses.
Oh, thank you.
She always has the best glasses. So. Okay, so we will now go to the chair's report. I don't have anything, just to say great meeting last time and the way we addressed everything related to the entire district. Lights, pickleball, courts. So I think everyone did a great job. Thank you so much for putting the resolution together, Marty, as well. Minutes are always the best. Sarah, thank you. So that's the chair's report. Old, new business, nothing. That's it.
Sounds good.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night. Bye.
Wow.
Oh, do we have that? 8:07.
Are we done?